Hello everybody, welcome to Monza, welcome to DTM 2021. Welcome back. It's been a while, 8 months or so since we last saw wheels turned in anger and cars going side by side in the DTM. But after a delayed start to the season, we are back with a bang and with a brand new era for the DTM. There's lots of exciting stuff to look forward to. It's the same format that you're used to in terms of the races. There's going to be the same great racing, but we have a lot of new faces and we have new regulations and we have new cars in terms of the technical side of the championship. 5 different manufacturers are going to be going head-to-head during the course of the season. We have Mercedes back in DTM, Audi and BMW return, of course, and now we have Ferrari and Lamborghini going in the action here in the home of Italian sports cars and race cars, because we're at Monza for the opening rounds of the 2021 calendar. We've got qualifying coming up. My name's Chris Hartley. I'm going to be talking you through all of the action during the course of the weekend, and it will be 2 separate qualifying sessions as ever in DTM to determine the grid for the 2 races that we'll have, one on each day, Saturday and Sunday. And a 20-minute session it will be, coming up in just over 3 minutes time. The cars all heading out onto this 5.9 kilometre long lap here at this truly historic venue. Lucas Auer is one of the drivers returning from last year's championship. There are 12 rookies on the grid this season, 13 if you include Nick Cassidy, who's going to be joining us at times later in the season. He's not been involved in DTM for a full season, but he did win the first ever dream race out in Fuji a couple of years ago in Japan, where we had the Super GT cars and the DTM cars going head-to-head for a special race weekend at the time. And there is a driver who knows all about DTM, the highest placed driver returning from last year, second in the 2020 championship, twice a runner-up now in DTM, picked to the post last year after a really close battle with René Rast, and he's now switched teams to join the team who's been fighting against for the last few years, Team Rosberg. Marco Whitman, another familiar name, back with us in DTM, the 2-time champion of 2014 and 2016. And he looked pretty good in the second free practice session yesterday, and he's keen to get out on track, as you can well imagine. And as I say, lots of new faces and new drivers in the championship, but lots of returnees as well as Timo Glock coming through, the 5-time winner in DTM, former Formula 1 racer, is back. He's with the Rover Racing BMW squad this year. We've got Danny Uncadea back as well, the Spanish driver, another returnee. You mentioned Lucas Auer, who won a race last year in DTM. He's back with Mercedes, with whom he started his DTM career after racing with BMW last year. We've also got Sheldon van der Linde, race winner, first ever South African winner of the DTM from last season. He's back, and so too he's joined on the grid by his older brother Kelvin van der Linde, who's a DTM debutant but a very experienced racer in terms of endurance racing and GT racing, a GT Masters champion. They're racing against one another in separate teams. Kelvin is in the number 3 Team Abt Sportsline car, team which won the championship, which second in the championship last year.
Out there, like I'm warming up when everybody's pushing and getting in the way, because I have to drive offline. Yeah, copy.
So their team radio from Liam Lawson, and there are the 2 Ferraris run by the AF Corsa team, the hugely experienced AF Corsa team, and with Alex Albon, the Formula 1 test and reserve driver for Red Bull Racing in the 23 car, the Thai British driver, dual nationality driver, who's had 2 podiums in Formula 1. Not racing in Formula 1 this year, but still very much involved and hoping to get back ultimately behind the wheel of a Formula 1 car in racing. Finished 7th in the championship last year, his first full season with Red Bull. So Liam Lawson, who's in Formula 2 this year, and a real promising young talent, just 19 years of age, is in the other car. You heard from Liam, the 19-year-old youngest driver on the grid from New Zealand. So those 2 went particularly well in the first free practice session yesterday, where they finished 2nd and 3rd fastest in what was a very tight session. The first 45-minute free practice session yesterday was topped by another DTM returnee, Max Gotz, the German driver for Mercedes team HRT, set a time in free practice 1 of 1 minute 47.624 seconds, but was only 22 thousandths of a second quicker than Alex Albon, who was second. And then Liam Lawson was third, but he was only 46 thousandths of a second away from the top time in the session. Nico Muller was fourth in that first free practice session yesterday, and again, very close to the top time with a 1:47.688. Just 64 thousandths of a second covering the top four. Second free practice session, then we had a different look to it. Philip Ellis, who hadn't been out at all in the first session, went out and...
Close and you know.
To hear from Vincent Abril, who went well into the top five in the first free practice session, another DTM rookie this year. But Philip Ellis, the Swiss driver in his team Winward Mercedes AMG, 1:47.617 seconds in the second free practice session. He went out, did, I think it was just half a dozen laps, and put that time in to be top of free practice 2. But Muller was up there again, second for Team Rosberg. Calvin van der Linde was third quickest in free practice 2. And Arjun Maini was fourth, the Indian driver who started his career in single-seaters. He's very experienced, but he's still only 23 years of age. He's been racing in the Asian Le Mans Series for the last couple of seasons with some good success inside the top 5 in the championship for the last 2 seasons running. And he went very well, fourth quickest for Arjun in the Team Get Speed Mercedes AMG. However, the session ended in strange circumstances because he came in to have a pit stop, was about to head out for the last few minutes. There is Arjun in the number 36 Mercedes coming through your shot. And he lost a rear wheel, which had a problem, so it became detached. He made it to the end of the pit wall. Luckily, the errant wheel didn't make contact with anybody or anything apart from the pit wall. And his session ended there and then. There's Esme Hawkey, who's a very late entry to this season, the British driver, the sole British driver on the grid, and she's had a terrific couple of seasons in UK motorsport, racing in the Porsche Carrera Cup GB, and she has become the class champion, the Pro-Am class champion in that category. Had a terrific season last year. Prior to that, she was racing Porsche Caymans in GT racing in the UK, but she also, a couple of seasons ago, in the inaugural year 2019 of the W Series, was dovetailing the Porsche commitments with a championship season in W Series, which supported DTM. So she's familiar with some of the circuits. And there is Sophia Florsch, another DTM debutant. Unlike Esme Hawkey, she's had the benefit of being involved in the pre-season testing, although other than getting a bit more familiar with the car, I'm not sure what benefit that's going to be here at Monza, given that the pre-season tests just a couple of months ago, really, at Hockenheim and Lausitzring in Germany, were in incredibly cold conditions. It was even snowing in springtime at Hockenheim. Track conditions here, very, very different indeed. Yesterday, it was 47 degrees track temperature. It's a bit cooler now than it was yesterday afternoon, but the air temperature is still over 26 degrees and fairly humid as well, 44% humidity. So there is a chance that we might have, perhaps tomorrow morning, a little bit of rain, 1 or 2 thundery patches tomorrow. That might clear the air. So cars starting to put in, or trying to put in some lap times now. A couple of recce laps it will take them to build up speed. All running Michelin slick tyres during this session. That's one of the other changes to the championship. The Michelin provide the mandatory tyres. It's the S8M compound for slicks, which is a medium compound tyre. So there will be some degradation. It's deliberately been chosen, that tyre, so that the drivers have to try and manage the tyres and drive through the issues in the latter part of each session. There will still be mandatory pit stops in the races for tyre changes, and it's the same pit stop window that we had last year. So the pit stop window reintroduced in 2020. You come in, make your stop any time after the leader has crossed the line on the 5th lap of the race. There's Max Buch, another of the new faces to DTM, but somebody, again, with plenty of experience under his belt. He's racing that 6.2-litre V8 Mercedes AMG, and he's with the very experienced Muka Motorsport team, Peter Muka's Berlin-based squad. Of huge experience, particularly in single-seater racing over the years. He comes from Rheinbeck in Germany. He's actually substituting for this first couple of weekends for Gary Paffett, who is set to return to the championship, the 2-time champion, the British driver, but he's a Formula E development driver, so he's got some clashes, unfortunately for him, for the first 2 rounds, but Gary Paffett will be back in the championship a few rounds in, but for now he's got a very good substitute in Max Buch, who was 3rd in the International GT Challenge, in the Intercontinental GT Challenge a couple of years ago, and has lots and lots of top 3 finishes in the Blancpain GT Championship, including a title win in 2016, a Pro Cup class title win in 2015, and he repeated that, or he did that again earlier in his career in 2013. He's been racing for over a decade now, where he made his debut in single-seaters in the Formula Masters Championship. Right, Marco Whitman has set the early benchmark time. This is not going to be, I don't think, the time that is the one to beat ultimately, but it's a decent start. 1 minute 48.128 seconds on his first lap. He's the only one to put in a representative time so far, but you can see that Marco was keen to get out, wasn't he? Lots of feedback and data he was giving, but Max Gotts, who was quickest in free practice one, now goes to the top of the times, and that's a 1:47.158. And Kelvin van der Linde straight on the money, 1:46.928. So Kelvin van der Linde into the top of the times in his Audi, 2/10 clear of Max Gotts, who was for a very short period of time on that provisional pole position with a 1:47.1. Nico Muller and Mike Rockenfeller are putting good times as well. 1:47.4 for Muller, he's third. 1:47.7 for Rockenfeller, the 2013 champion. He's fourth now. Dev Gore, the American racer coming into DTM for the first time, has put in a decent first run as well. 1:47.892. So the Audis weren't really dominating in terms of the free practice times yesterday, but they've had a good start to qualifying because 4 of the top 5 places are filled by Audis currently. The only exception to that being Max Gotts, who's currently second quickest. Best BMW is Timo Glock in 6th. And Philippe Ellis in the Mercedes has crossed the line to go into second place. 1:47.000. And Lucas Auer just flashing through your shot there. Best time of the weekend so far. 1 minute 46.590 seconds. Absolute best in all of the sectors. We also had a very strong third sector from Philippe Ellis when he put his time in. So I think more to come there. And they're getting straight down to the money, but that's the best lap of the weekend so far, better than anything we saw in free practice. Lucas Auer didn't go out at all, really, for the first free practice. He ventured on track for a recce lap, but they opted to sit that one out and save the car and save the tyres until, as Lukey said later, we waited for the track to rubber up, really, where we knew it would be a bit quicker in free practice too. As Max Gotts in the number 4, Mercedes coming out of Parabolica at the end of the lap with Arjun Maini just in front of him. Where's he going to put his car now? Currently second fastest with a 1:46.832 second lap. So only 2/10 down. Kelvin van der Linde in third, Philippe Ellis fourth, Mike Rockenfeller fifth, Muller in sixth. Vincent Abril, who went well yesterday in the first free practice session, is 7th. And Arjun Maini in his debut is 8th at the moment. Timo Glock and Liam Lawson 9th and 10th. Got a few in the pits. Marco Whitman, who was right up there early on, but only really had that one attacking lap, and that 1:48.1. Well, that was good enough for pole for a while, but it's now put him down in 14th place. We haven't seen Danny Hunkadea or Esteban Mutiet, who was late out in his Lamborghini yesterday in the first free practice session. This is Philippe Ellis, who was the fastest of all yesterday, although he didn't do, as I say, many laps at all during the course of the session. New to DTM, but he has been on the DTM package before in a support sense because he used to race in the Audi TT Cup and was the TT Cup champion back in 2017. Been racing GTs and GT Masters more recently. Finished 6th in the GT Masters Championship last year with Winwood Racing. As we watch Vincent Abril now going on the attack. Max Bucher's got himself up to 7th place. What about Abril? He's currently in 8th position. And that lap is enough to pull him to the top of the times. 1 minute 46.488. It was the last sector where he gained all the time, really. It was a personal best in the other 2 sectors, but a brilliant final sector to put him through, absolute best through there, into the top of the times. So he goes provisional pole now with a 1:46.488. That's just over a 10th quicker than Lucas Auer in second place. Then you've got a gap backlet to the next grouping of cars. You can see from the way the graphics tower is on our new system spread there, groups of cars. So the top 2 are matched together, then you've got a bit of a gap, and then 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th are all evenly matched, only a 10th of a second between Gotts, Ellis, Lawson and Kelvin van der Linde, and then Muller, Rockenfeller tied together pretty closely as well in 7th and 8th place with Buch, and now Albon into the top 10. So Albon 10th. Liam Lawson is the best of the Ferraris currently in 5th place. They were at the top of the times, or near the top of the times in the first free practice session, but they were concentrating on longer run pace in the second session, so they didn't really put in quick single lap runs, and they were therefore down towards the tail end of the times in the second free practice session. And Vincent Abril, terrific run that, 1:46.488 seconds. We've got Max Buch on a personal best lap. Muller's just come into the pits. but boot personal bests last time around to put him into 146s as well. We've got now the top 7 all in the 146s. The top 2 both going a fraction quicker than anybody managed yesterday on a hotter track. So there's the driver that he's looking to get what will be a maiden pole position in his maiden qualifying session. The 26-year-old from Arles in southern France.
I hit a squirrel quite hard. Nothing major on my fast lap, but I hit an animal.
That's okay, keep going, you're still P1, stay out, we cannot do a second run, stay out for now.
So Vincent Abril been told to stay out as Liam Lawson, while we were hearing from Vincent on the team radio, has put the Ferrari up to 5th place now. So it's 5th place for the number 30 Red Bull AF Corsa Ferrari. And there's his teammate, Alex Albon. The AF Corsa team run and founded by Amato Ferrari. That's what the AF stands for. And he was a racing driver himself, Amato, but not for long. He retired when he was just 28 years of age to set up the team back in the mid-1990s. And they've had huge success as a team in GT racing and things like the Monza 24-hour race, the FIA World Endurance Championship. Got the 2006 FIA GT crown with the Ferrari F430 in their first ever season, trying to win that. And it's a local team as well, because they're based in a place called Piacenza, which is just in the south of Milan, only about 80 kilometres from Monza. There's Liam Lawson, who, as I say, is racing in Formula 2 as well as DTM this year. Real promising young talent. Lots of quick New Zealand drivers coming through over the last couple of years. We're going to have another one with us in the championship later this season. Nick Cassidy is a terrific driver. Been racing for the last few years, predominantly in Japan, and having great success in Super GT out there. Liam Lawson, just 19 years of age, from Hastings in New Zealand. He's mentored by Ken James as well, who's a 3-time winner of the New Zealand Grand Prix back in, well, he won it over a long period of time, actually. Won it first in 1976, won it again in 1990, and won it again when he was a little bit older in 2004. And as for Liam Lawson, so racing in Formula 2 with the High-Tech GP team, he's currently 8th in Formula 2. Won the first round of the championship at Bahrain and took a 3rd place finish there as well. So already a race winner in Formula 2. There's Arjun Mining, as I say, started his career in single-seaters. Runner-up in the BRDC Formula 4 Championship a few years ago. Only beaten by a handful of points. It was 3 points. He lost out on the championship. And the person that beat him to the title in the British Formula 4 Championship back then was George Russell. Now, of course, well-known Formula 1 driver for Williams. So we've got the top 9 drivers all in the pits at the moment. Abril, Auer, Gotts, Ellis, Lawson, Kelvin van der Linde, Book, Muller and Rockenfeller. So the highest placed driver that's still on track is Alex Albon in the Ferrari. With Timo Glock setting the best speed trap time at the end of the first speed trap, which is nearly 250 kilometres an hour. The second speed trap is even quicker, 260 we've got up to now. It's the quickest time I've seen through there for a couple of cars, for Gotts and for Dev Gore as well. There's Sheldon van der Linde then, who had that terrific race victory last year in the DTM at the Lausitz-Ring. Still a very young and promising driver, just 21 years of age, the driver from Johannesburg. Both Kelvin and Sheldon following in the footsteps of Dad Sean. He was a top touring car racer for BMW in the South African Championship, won it in 1994, was twice a runner-up in the championship in the late 1990s as well. And Sheldon van der Linde starting his touring car career in Polo. He's in the South African Polo Cup, which he won back in 2014, at a very young age. VW Cup South Africa champion after that as well. And he too, like Philip Ellis, raced in the Audi Sport TT Cup when that ran on the DTM support package. Flashing of lights there, because that's just to make aware from Stanley Hunkadeo, who's flashing his lights to make aware the driver's coming out of the pits that he's on the charge. Goes a little bit wide on the way out of the first chicane at Retifilio, going through the right-hand kink now at Curva Grande, and building up the speed, heading down towards the next right-left chicane, which is a bit wider than the first one, through Variante della Roggia. And through there he will go, and trying to put himself up the order a little bit. Haven't had a time set yet for either Esteban Moots, Esme Hawkey Or Sheldon van der Linde, actually. Sheldon we've seen on track, but he hasn't put a lap time in yet. Danny Hunkadea's lap time last time through put him into the top 3, though. That was his first real attack, so he's in the 146s now as well. 146.793. Just 4.5 minutes to go in the session. Philip Ellis in the pits, poised, waiting, currently 5th fastest. If he wants to get onto the front row of the grid, he needs 0.3 of a second. So Vincent Abril by 1/10 of a second ahead of Lucas Auer. Then there's a 0.2 of a second gap back to Hunkadea in 3rd, Gotts in 4th, Ellis and Lawson rounding out the top 6 as it stands. No purple sector times, no personal best sector times as yet. Sheldon van der Linde leaving this one late. No time recorded as yet. Neither of the Lamborghinis of Moot or Hawkey have set a time yet either. And Sheldon van der Linde has got time to get a few laps in here. And he's got the track to himself at the moment, as long as nobody comes out just in front of him. There's Danny Hunkadea in the background about to complete another lap, but I don't think this one is going to be an improvement upon the lap that put him 3rd quickest. No, he backed off on that one, 1:48 on that lap. And Sheldon van der Linde, it's now or never with 3.5 minutes to go. Needs to get a couple of laps in here. Vincent Abril headed for the pits by the looks of things. But the Lamborghini's now on a charge. The number 10 machine is straight up into 12th place of Esteban Moot. So that's a decent first lap, leaving it late in the 4.4 litre V8 Hurricane, run by T3 Motorsport, riding the curbs through Retifilia. Driver that competed only for a few races of the GT4 European Series last year. Has been out, done all sorts of things. Bit of Japanese F3, bit of Blancpain GT, bit of Toyota Racing Series in which he finished in the top 5 and was a race winner a couple of years ago. French F4 before that, former Belgian karting champion. The driver from just outside Brussels, and has raced here before for one weekend in the Formula Renault Euro Cup. Right, we're looking at the 2-time champion of DTM, Marco Whitman now, back in 16th place. So he's leaving it late as well. We've got 4 of the top 5 in the pits at the moment, so it doesn't look like they're going to improve. Abril, Auer, the top 2, Gotts and Ellis, 4th and 5th, still in the pits. If they want to go out, they're going to have to do it very soon, but maybe they feel that they're not going to be able to improve, and they want to perhaps try to save the tyres if they can. A limited number of tyres that you can use within the championship in terms of slick tyres. There's no limit on wet tyres, not that we need to worry about that today, but for the first event that a team runs, which is everybody this weekend, maximum of 5 sets of new tyres. That's down to 3 sets of new tyres after that, and that's not how to look after your tyres, as Marco Whitman goes a bit leery. Esme Hawkey puts in a good first lap, up to 11th place on her first attack, and Danny Hunkadea has squeezed just into 2nd place as well, ahead of Lucas Auer. So he's now only 72 thousandths of a second away from Vincent Abril, and Esteban Moot puts the Lamborghini up into the top 5. That's a terrific effort. So there he goes, his 2nd real charging lap, and he's got time for one more lap here. As he makes his way through Retifilia and almost loses the back end of the Hurricane as he gets on the accelerator. That's going to cost him a grip and acceleration and traction coming out of the corner. So that might curtail any chances of having another good run as he makes his way through Curva Grande, down through Variante de la Regier and down towards the Lesmo curves. Anybody else on the attack? Few green sector times coming up for Marco Whitman. He looks like he's on an improvement here. So too Nico Muller. Muller is currently down in 10th, Whitman down in 15th place. 46 seconds left to go in the race to get pole position. There is Muller behind Whitman. So this is their last chance to come through. Only Abril and Gotts in the pits now. So Auer and Ellis have both gone back out to try and squeeze one more lap in, but did they leave it too late? It's going to be one more lap for Whitman and one more lap for Muller. Going to cross the line with about 20 seconds to go. And Muller's popped himself up to 8th place with that. Whitman backs off. He can't find any more time, so it looks like 15th at best for him. But the first of the team, Rosberg Audis, Nico Muller has got one more chance here. His best lap is a 1:46.9, which is half a second away from provisional pole position, which at the moment belongs to Vincent Abril. The top 4 drivers, all Mercedes at the moment. Abril, Hunkadea, Auer and Gotts. Lamborghini of Moot next. The checkered flag comes out. Arjun Maini goes through. Esme Hawkey has gone into the pits. 12th place at the moment for her. Takes the checkered flag as well. So last run of the roll of the dice for everybody if they stay out, but some of them are opting to come into the pits already. And Alex Albon is one of those drivers back in 14th place. A bit frustrating, I would imagine, given how well they started the weekend. Although Liam Lawson's fared much better in 7th place. Esteban Mook takes the checkered flag, and Gadea takes the checkered flag. Anybody on a charge here, looking at the screens, possibly Rockenfeller's going to improve. He had a personal best first sector time, and the second sector was okay, but I'm not sure it's going to challenge right at the front of the field. What about Muller? He's down a little bit on the first sector. It's okay, 36.2 seconds. But he needs a really good end to the lap if he wants to get higher than 8th on the grid. So it looks like, very much, it's going to be Vincent Abril that takes pole position. And his first attempt at DTM qualifying. That terrific lap of 1 minute 46.488 seconds. There he is, just waiting to make sure nobody else pips him at the end. But I think it looks unlikely now. Just Muller out there, that might be one to keep an eye on. Lawson has taken the flag, Muller's taken the flag, and he doesn't improve. 147.2. So Vincent Abril now gets the news that he is the pole sitter for the first race of the season. Terrific effort, and here you can see him attacking in slow motion this historic Monza circuit, the third oldest circuit, purpose-built circuit in world motor racing. The only circuits that are older, Brooklands in the UK and Indianapolis in the USA, hosting Formula One races since 1950. You've got the old banked sections here at Monza as well, which you can still walk around. They're still occasionally used for things like the Monza Rally Show at the end of the year. And this place celebrating its 100th anniversary next year. Opened its doors back in 1922. It's a historic venue. It's a proper driver's circuit. Bravery, commitment, accuracy. You need it all around here. And Vincent Abril has demonstrated with some terrific driving so far this weekend what he is capable of. It's a new name to join the group of DTM pole sitters. And it's Vincent Abril that does it. Terrific effort from him, the Team HRT outfit. And the Mercedes looking strong, taking the first 4 places. Danny Huncadea second on his return to the DTM. There he is, to the right of the picture, and to the left, putting his face mask on, is Lucas Auer, who has, I think, he's going to be satisfied with 3rd place overall. Only a 1/10 of a second between those 3 drivers. And good to see Danny Huncadea having a good run as well. Just got the 1 win in DTM to his name. He's never really quite had the car underneath him to challenge up at the sharp end, but maybe that is about to change during the course of this 2021 season for the man from Barcelona. But it's Frenchman Vincent Abril, Monegasque, that takes the 1 minute 46.48 second lap, or 146.56 though. Looked like it might be enough for Danny Huncadea. That was a terrific lap as well. And Lucas Auer with a 146.590. There were the 3 drivers that all went quicker than anybody managed yesterday. 146.6 was the best yesterday. Gertzwell on at 4th, Moot in 5th, Ellis in 6th, Lawson in 7th, Nico Muller, last year's runner-up, 8th, Kelvin van der Linde 9th, and Max Spook is the driver that will complete the top 10. We have Mercedes, we have Lamborghinis, and we have Audis in the top 10. The BMW struggled a bit in that session. Marco Whitman, Sheldon van der Linde and Timo Glock back in 15th, 16th and 17th positions. But great to see a real mix of different types of car and manufacturers up there. So we've got a rookie on pole. We've got somebody that's been away from the championship for a few years, Danny Huncadea, last raced in the championship. You remember in an Aston Martin. He started his career in DTM with Mercedes, but he was last involved in the championship in 2019 with the R Motorsport squad, just for the 1 season as an Aston Martin driver. And the top 3 then will pose for the photo. And hopefully we'll get to hear from at least a couple of them in a few minutes' time. Abril, Huncadea on the left and Auer on the right. 3 drivers, 3 different nationalities. And so the highest placed driver that returns from last year is Lucas Auer in 3rd, but then you have to go back to Nico Muller in 8th place. And White Rockenfeller back in 11th. So far, although it's a very different track to the ones that we're going to have later on in the season, it is very much down to the new faces on the grid. And one of the new faces in DTM will have a big smile on his face. He's our pole sitter.
Yeah, Winston, the rookie on pole position, so tell us something about your emotions right now.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. First of all, I want to say a huge thank you to Mercedes and to Haupt Racing Team, Hubert Haupt, Jean-Paul, everyone who believed in me and gave me this chance to be on a championship that I thought was only a dream when I started racing, and now I'm sitting here on the grid and on pole in my first race. I mean, I'm a bit lost for words, but now is not the time to to soak it in. I think we need to keep focused for what it looks to be like a very interesting race with tires, with everything. It's going to be not just purely on pace, but obviously, personally, it feels freaking great. I can't lie. It feels good.
What do you think? What are the keys later on for the race?
I think you have to keep a cool head. Although it's the ultimate sprint series, I think there's going to be a part of intelligence and managing as well. So it's a bit of an unknown, which is exciting, but for sure, no one drove these cars at these speeds, and I think there's going to be a process of learning for the whole grid. But as far as I'm concerned, I executed at a high level, and I'm very pleased with myself. My hardest critic, I'm my hardest critic, but today I told my engineer, man, I'm really happy.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Chris.
guys.
Thanks very much indeed. Great to hear from our pole sitter. Absolutely chuffed to bits with that, as you can imagine. That is a dream start to his DTM career. Lots of work still to do, of course. 2 50-minute races coming up this weekend. Somebody that knows all about racecraft in the DTM, though, is 5-time race winner Lucas Auer. We can hear from him now.
Lucas, 3 Mercedes in the fastest car in the qualifying. So what do you think? Why is Mercedes so fast, so strong?
Well, probably we did great setup work. We got the laps together. It's the first qualifying, so I guess many people had mistakes or something didn't go right with pressure. And I think we just did it as a team good. But now anyway, the race comes, and I think this will be really interesting afterwards.
Thank you very much, Lucas.
Yeah, he's got a point. It's going to be very close indeed. So he can follow up on his best season in 2017, where he finished 6th in the DTM, Lucas Auer, with 3 wins in the championship. So the race starts just after 1:30 local time here in Monza. We'll have all the build-up on the grid 15 minutes before that. It's going to be 2 50-minute races this weekend, and on pole position for the first of them is a rookie to the DTM. Vincent Abril is the top man here in qualifying 1. From me, Chris Hartley, and the team, thanks for watching, and we'll see you later on this afternoon for the race.